Would like to call upon Mr. Sarash Chandra, Associate Vice President, Conceptia Connect Products Sales Division, and have a deep knowledge and experience working with customers like you for the last 20 years. Now he's going to talk about business drivers for evolving manufacturing enterprises from the perspective of manufacturing industry and also delve deeper in the trends, business drivers. He'll also share the thoughts on the adoption of virtual twin technology as the new business model and its advantages. Over to you, sir. Let's have a louder applause for him before he begins.
Now, before I begin, I think I'd like to go ahead and set the context right for today. We are going to talk more about ideate, collaborate, and execute. While we discuss about ideate, collaborate, and execute, I think the first thing that comes across to my mind is what are we going to cover? We're going to talk a little about growth as a nation. How is it that we're seeing India growing? We are going to talk about evolving into a regenerative manufacturing enterprise. And I'm sure that all of you today talk about virtual twin and everything else. And how is it that we're looking at to ensure that we grow into the next stage or next phase of our evolution, which is a regenerative manufacturing. We're going to talk about manufacturing industry trends, the business developments and the trends that's going to help all of you us to grow furthermore also. We're going to talk a little about virtual twin, we're going to talk about concept and then manufacturing and how it's helping. Now, I'd like to go ahead and draw a simple analogy here today. I'm sure all of you have noted that we were perceived as a giraffe. I'm sure you may or may not agree with this particular point, but then again, India was seen as a giraffe. Why is it that I'm talking about as a giraffe? India was considered to be heavy, huge, tall, like a giraffe, sluggish, not very flexible at all, paranoid by sheer mass, and now, what are we? We are today considered the unicorn capital of the world. Yes, we are now moving towards centaurs. Billion-dollar companies, yes, but today we are not talking in billions anymore. We are talking about trillion-dollar companies moving towards the centaurs, and then how exactly we're going to move towards it. This can only happen through 4 strong pillars in the growth of our industry. I'm sure you all agree with this. Why is it that we're talking about 4 strong pillars? We are a gifted landscape. I'm sure all of you are agreeing to this. We have no doubt for technical capabilities. I'm sure India produces more engineers today. In fact, while the US is moving towards computers and then AI and all those things, the core traditional engineering capabilities, engineering in mechanical engineering, civil engineering and such, India produces almost, I would say, 10x more engineers, and then that's something that we have been proud of, and I'm sure that all of you all will relate to this. We also are going to talk a little about how our visionaries have helped us. Our visionaries, I would say, I'd like to take a few names here probably, someone like JID, Jamshed Tata, and until recently I probably could have referred to this gentleman. Deep respects to Ratanji, who has been one of the greatest visionaries to bring in the right kind of mindset, mindshare, and the kind of thought processes which helped India grow in multifacets in the recent past as well. Now, while we also talk about all these things, I also would like to go ahead and draw up on the next aspect of industrious minds. And this industrious mind definitely is with everyone here today as well. We also talk about the political will, the sheer strength of the political aspects that we're talking about in terms of the governing schemes, the governing capabilities, the strength in terms of incentives to manufacturing industries today. All these things are definitely helping India grow. Now, while I say that we have a lot of movements happening, and how is it that's going to change the way we look at manufacturing? There are a lot of macro factors. One of them being your CPI. I'm sure you can notice that while the inflation was about 3.5 in July last year, July 24, against the 2023 number of 7.44. So this is definitely a definitive change that's going to help India grow forward. And 2025, I'm sure it's going to see a lot more changes. Another aspect of it is the core index industries definitely has grown quite a bit. It's at about 1.6 to 163.6. One more factor would be our PE and VC investments. I'm sure all of you all agree with this. The private equity investors and the venture capitalists have started pumping in, and that's the reason why our economy is no more standing at small or then again, that's one of the reasons why we have grown to be unicorns and then the centaurs of the world. While 2.7 billion across 81 deals have been recorded in India, I'm sure this is one of the greatest numbers that would continue to grow. We have multiple, in fact, in our own customer base, we have a lot of people who have grown towards making sure that they have become multifaceted startups that have grown to a large extent today. And one of the other things is the overall exports and imports, which always has to be well balanced. There's a quick number that I'd like to talk about. Now, our India's overall exports stood at about 261 billion US dollars, as against the 292.64 billion imports. So this definitely talks about how well we are ensuring that we have the right kind of import-export balance. I'm sure you see a country growing only when you have the right kind of import-export balance. Earlier, we were all importing a lot of goods. China plus one strategy definitely has helped us export as well. This, I'm sure, is one of the things that would definitely draw your attention too. Having said that, the IIP, or the India's Index of Industrial Production for June 2024, stood at about 150. I do not want to talk too deep into this. And then the foreign direct investments, big word, buzzword, FDIs, yes, OFDIs as we call them. I'm sure you all know this. I do not want to again dig too deeper into this, but then again, foreign direct investments have been really, really growing, and then it would continue to grow is what I would say. Now, at every stage of manufacturing, I'm pretty sure that we have had multiple problems. Manufacturing metamorphosis is something that I'd like to go ahead and talk about a little over here. I'll probably take about 5 minutes on this. 1920s, what were the kind of challenges we were talking about? We were talking about cost, the parts, how we could go ahead and make sure that the interchangeable parts are going to solve this particular problem. Now, one thing that was always a constant in manufacturing industry was the constant evolution of solutions to the problems that we have. I'm sure you all agree that every particular problem had a solution, right? So while we talked about 1920s, we ensured that we address the challenge of cost with interchangeable parts. Moving to 1960, the challenge was how do we maintain quality, lean manufacturing techniques, Six Sigmas and all those things. I'm sure you all adopt Kaizens and everything else in your manufacturing industries today. We wanted to make sure we streamline operations. I'd like to draw your attention towards the time period that we took, 40 years, right? So the problems are there, manufacturing industry is there, continues to grow. Do we have problems? Yes. Do we have solutions? Yes. We have had solutions across multifaceted approaches in every step of our manufacturing industry. We made sure that we introduced the computers, and I'm sure that you also are seeing the amount of time that we are spending. Now, from 1960s to the 80s, it's only about 15 years or 20 years that we're talking about, but then again, you can see the number of years that we are reducing to make sure that we evolve. Why did we do this? Because constant changes were demanding varieties from customers, your customers, you're our customers, you demanded changes, we also changed, we evolved. Similarly, I'm sure your customers also demanded changes. You had to make sure that you evolve with that. You made sure that it was done. Utility of the computers, CNCs got introduced. You have a lot of computerization that happened, which definitely helped you in terms of addressing the problems in terms of varieties. Come 2000s, scientific knowledge. I'm sure this is something that we all can relate to. I see a lot of young crowd here today, so I'm sure you would be able to go ahead and know that the responsiveness, we want services really quickly, right? We want to make sure that everything happens as quickly as possible. One of the things that I noticed in the early 2000s and then mid 2000s was how quickly our manufacturing was addressing the requirements of the customers. You know, there was a point in time when I visited Toyota, they told me that on the same line as Qualis is produced, for every 5 or 6 Qualises that are produced, Innova is produced on the same line. So that was a responsiveness that was required. And then there was a kind of engineering and robotics implementation of it that was required to ensure that we address multiple issues that was coming in. And then that was enabled only through the scientific knowledge that we have. Having said that, now in our 2010s, when we talk about it, sustainability. I'm sure you all talk more about green energy today. We talk about reducing the carbon footprints, ensuring that we do not leave a big carbon footprint for our next generation. Sustainability is something that we talk about. We change the materials. We talk about nanomaterials, bioengineering. We talk about the best possible material which can go ahead and ensure that the carbon footprint left on the earth is definitely as less as possible. We today talk about flying lower We today talk about cutting down on the expenses of flying and then also as less as possible in terms of manufacturing too. Now, the next stage of our manufacturing is nothing but regenerative manufacturing. I'm sure you understand that the responsiveness for the challenges has to be very, very immense, and then the cutthroat world that we're living in today will have to ensure that we address the issues of responsiveness with the next possible step in our manufacturing, which is regenerative manufacturing as an enterprise. Now, with today's industry, these are the business drivers. I'm sure all of you will agree with it. Enterprise agility, self-aware and connected systems, production of one, equipment as a service. We'll not talk about selling our equipment today. We want to make sure that we talk more of equipment as a service, and then planning the risks in our enterprises, everyday operations, how do we plan that? And then we also talk about circular innovation, wherein we use the material, reuse the material, and then make sure that the material is not over-consumed or under-consumed. Optimality of the material is something that we're talking about. How do we address this? There are a few aspects of enterprise initiatives the manufacturing sector is needing and adopting to make sure that there's a faster collaboration that is done, develop innovative products, unique, and then also make sure the business models are achieved using virtual twin. As you see this slide, I'm going to talk a little about what we're talking about in terms of collaborating faster globally. Companies today want to make sure that they collaborate not just in one specific eco-location or one specific geolocation. They want to make sure that they collaborate across the globes. Now, to make sure of that, Dassault Systems offers multiple solutions on the single source of speed and then also concurrent equipment engineering, which we are talking about in terms of efficiently collaborating with supplier networks. We want to collaborate with engineering, which leads to services. We also talk about simplifying the information system architecture to make sure that the collaboration is going to happen on a single source of truth and speed. So in our solutions portfolio today, on the 3D experience platform, which we're going to talk about in detail in the next few sessions, we talk about how collaborative platform can help you out and how it becomes a single source for speed. And then this definitely is going to help you in terms of making sure that the engineer and product, which has to be faster and anywhere, has to be brought into action over here. While I talk about the next slide, which is our next business initiative, is innovative product innovation. Now, Dassault Systems can also help you out in terms of concurrent equipment engineering and making sure that the smart designs are simplified. We all want to make sure that our phones are smart today, our watches are smart today. Are we smart? Yes. So I think adoption of this smartness is something that we are definitely doing. And we are growing very, very steadily to ensure that this is also addressed. Multiple solutions would definitely not help. We need to make sure that the ecosystem that we maintain is single by nature, and then to ensure that one of the key things that we could offer as Dassault System is also to make sure that you have the right kind of solutions from the 3D experience platform, which can address your simplified smart equipment challenges. Again, one more challenge that we'll talk about is delivering to mass customizations of the requirements of your customers. I'm sure none of your customers say that, okay, this product is enough for me. They want to have changes everywhere. Everything is tailored to the requirements of the customer today. Everyone comes in and says, this is my USP. This is my unique selling proposition to my customers, so you have to customize it for me on this particular perspective. So to do that, I'm sure you talk about, again, single source of speed. You talk about how you can use the ready-to-make content, which can definitely be addressed by the platform. Let me address one more aspect of it, and I'd like to probably not delve too deep into this again, but move to the next slide. This is how our manufacturing system has been. I'm sure all of you will agree with this. From siloed applications, why do I have this slide up? I'm sure all of you today are working in very similar contents. We have the CAD, we have the CAEs, we have the PLM, manufacturing and services. All these things are working in multiple silos. While this system effectively works, efficiently works, there definitely is going to be a contribution from all these specific divisions equally to the organization's growth. However, with different data truths, they're not in single point, or they're not a single source of truth. That definitely makes it a hindrance to my growth. And this causes immense overheads on the company and then lost business opportunities. How do we address that? Today, the world is changing quickly towards the cloud. This is the new way forward. Yes? Do you agree? Yes? So the way forward today is ensuring that we are scalable, we are simple, we are secure, we are flexible, productive, all at the same time. Cloud is the only way forward, my dear friends. That's the way we are going to go ahead. And that's the way we are going to go ahead and look at how we can be productive and ensure that we grow steadily in the manufacturing sector. This is a quick slide about what we're going to offer to you, the 3D Experience platform. This offers everything that you saw in the previous slide today. We start from the very initial stages of your RFP. We make sure that we address the requirements of the company in its concept design to browsers, to proposal submissions going forward to project planning, which is a very key aspect of any manufacturing industry. We go forward from there to detailed design, production planning, manufacturing, and even before you manufacture, the validation, which is your simulation, we do that virtually, and then move on to our final manufacturing deliverables. So how do we do this? We do it using the virtual twin technologies. The virtual twin technologies, and I'd probably go ahead and let this sink in for you. I think we are no more talking about working only with the machine shop floor. People control machines today using their phones. People control their cars today using their phones. Now, how is that possible? The virtual twin technology replicates everything on your shop floor onto your digital devices. So this is something that's the next big thing that's going to happen. And this is where we're talking about the ITs, IoTs, and then the IoTs of the world. This definitely is going to make sure that this addresses most of the information, and then through the fundamentals of performance, optimization, modeling, and collaboration. How do we do this? There are key aspects of, there are key aspects of it that get involved here: 3D modeling, product development, and then cost effectiveness. This is definitely giving addresses to, or this definitely is addressing most of the issues in manufacturing industry today. Again, I would not want to dig too deep into this slide, which would talk about unified environment. So this is what we are offering as Dassault Systems. Dassault Systems offer the unified environment for you to collaborate, effectively manage your data with integrated tools on 3D modeling, simulation, digital twin creation, and such. Your job is more than design. We are today not talking about simple design. We are talking about ideation, we're talking about design, we're talking about simulation, collaboration, manage, market, and manufacture everything we produce. And that, ladies and gentlemen, for us today is ideate, collaborate, and execute. Thank you.